Get it, David. Come on. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Energy. Let it out. 7, 8, 9, 10. A machine here. There you go. Nobody works like David in this house. 13. Come on. 14. Come on. 15. Shut that muscle down. 16. Come on. Get it. 17.
They don't know me, son.
Get it. 18.
They don't know me, son.
Get it. 19.
They don't know me, son.
Yeah. 20. You got some more in you. 21. Yeah. Get it again. Come on. We want to see it. Good. 22.
Who's going to carry the boats and the logs?
That's you, buddy. Come on. 23. Come on. 24. One more, David.
Who's
one more
going to carry the boats?
You're going to do it. You're going to do it. You're going to do it. You did it. Yeah.
Who's going to carry the fucking boats?
Who's gonna carry the boat? Well, of course, David Garnett. But why does he do that? Many might say because he's disciplined, and they would not be wrong. He does carry the boat because he's disciplined. It's extremely important to be disciplined to do absolutely anything that you want. Here, discipline. Cristiano Ronaldo and Mike Tyson, two of the best known athletes of all time. They have two quotes: effort, dedication, work hard, because talent is not enough anymore. And talent, I don't believe in talent. You have to have the will to win. Now, what do these two quotes say? That it's not about some God-given gift. It's about hard work. It's about discipline. Because without discipline, you'll never finish anything, especially hard and important things. Now, let's compare discipline to motivation. As I've just said, without discipline, you'll never finish anything. But without motivation, you'll never start. At the beginning of discipline, at the beginning of absolutely anything, there's motivation. You have to be motivated to do something. Going back to the last slide, Mike Tyson's quote: talent, I don't believe in talent. You have to have the will to win. You need the motivation. And so, let me say something again. Without discipline, you'll never finish. But without motivation, you never start. Okay, so we've agreed that motivation is really important for absolutely anything. But where does it come from? Well, motivation comes from deprivation. If you are deprived of something, you'll be motivated to get it. Think about water, food, air. Let me tell you a quote. You can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. Now, I believe that's wrong. If you deprive the horse of water, if you dehydrate him, then he'll drink because he doesn't want to die. So, motivation comes from deprivation. And I think we all agreed on the things like water, food, air. That's why there is the expression of being hungry for something, for money, for love, for whatever. You're hungry to get something. But in the context of, for example, money, how does it work? If you're deprived of money, you'll be motivated to get money. Okay, fair enough. Then that means that every single poor person will be extremely hungry for money so that they will get money. But that's not the case. Is it that motivation coming from deprivation is wrong? No. It's about the thing that money is subjective. For example, $10,000. It is a lot of money or it is not? Think about $10,000 for a child. Is it a lot of money or no? I think it's a lot of money. I think you'd agree. But for a billionaire, $10,000 is nothing. So it's very little money. Now let's get another example. Let's say we know a guy who has $1 million. Does he have a lot of money or no? And for the average guy on the street too. If he knew one guy who has $1 million, would that be a lot of money? I think he'd say yes, that is a lot of money. But for the guy with $1 million, if he'd stayed in a circle with billionaires, if he'd always compare himself to billionaires, then he'd be deprived of money. He would have little money. So being deprived of money would make him motivated to get more. That is for the example with poor people too. If they would be surrounded by average salary people, average income people, and high income people, they would be motivated to get more money. But if they are surrounded by low income people too, then they will not be, because they will not be deprived if they can live off the money that they have. Well, I've answered where does motivation come from. But what is motivation? It is dopamine. Dopamine is the molecule of our brain which helps us with craving and motivation. The motivation for absolutely everything. The motivation to be, to live, to become. You breathe in this moment, you live in this moment because of dopamine. Because you're motivated to do so. For example, being hungry. The example with being hungry, which I've just talked about. You do absolutely anything because you're motivated, because of dopamine. Dopamine is important because it keeps us alive. Dopamine is the thing that gets you off the couch, that gets you on the couch, and that gets you to scroll TikTok. Also, to land people on the moon. Dopamine is important for absolutely everything. It's what keeps us alive. It's what makes us evolve. Dopamine. Now, what does dopamine affect you at this moment? Dopamine is responsible for time perception. Sometimes an hour can take an eternity. Can feel like it. Sometimes it just passes by. You don't feel it. It's because of this. It's because of dopamine. If you're stimulated, then it will just pass by. If you're not, if you're bored, then it will take an eternity. Also, another really important thing about dopamine, it controls your general state of being. How you usually feel is because of dopamine. You feel empty because of dopamine. You feel fulfilled because of dopamine. You feel bored because of dopamine. You feel stimulated because of dopamine. And now let's take a more scientific look on it. How does it exactly work? Well, it's not really about the dopamine. It's not the dopamine that controls everything that I've just talked about. It's about the dopamine receptor. Now, your brain releases a certain quantity of dopamine, but you have receptors that get it, and that make you feel it. If you get a lot of dopamine, more than you usually would get, For example, when you're overstimulated, for example, drugs, staying on TikTok, whatever, then your dopamine receptor will get fried because it has a lot of dopamine. If your brain releases a lower quantity of dopamine, then the receptor will not be that fried and you'll feel the dopamine a lot more. Little things will seem way more interesting to you and will stimulate you a lot more. Now, I think you've heard before about dopamine hits, and to give you an example of a dopamine hit, it's for example when you're scrolling TikTok, yeah, and its algorithm, it's made in a way that it makes you feel the most amount of dopamine, that gets you to release the most amount of dopamine. You have one boring video, two boring videos, next video will be interesting. TikTok knows better than you what you're interested in, and so we'll show you 2-3 boring videos and then one interesting, but it's always random, the interesting one. So it's like playing the roulette. It's like the casino in a way. It's a random reward system, and because you don't know when the next interesting video will come, you're hooked. You just stay there for hours searching for the next interesting video. It's like boring, whoa, boring, whoa, and so on, and it gets you hooked. That's a dopamine hit. When you find that interesting video, that's a dopamine hit. When, let's say, you use substances, yeah, when you use the substance, you get a dopamine hit. And putting that into a graphic, it looks like this. So this is the initial baseline. This is your general state of being. You have fun, yeah, instant gratification. You get pleasure from something without working for it, and you have a peak. Then it comes back, but you don't let it crash like here. You have another fun, and it goes down again, but you don't let it go really low. You have another one. Those are dopamine hits. This is a dopamine hit, this is a dopamine hit, this is a dopamine hit, and then you finally let it. You don't have another fun, and it crashes. There is an initial crash. Then your dopamine baseline comes back to normal, but it doesn't. That's the thing. That's the general state of being. As you see here, your initial baseline is here. Yeah? After you had instant gratification, your initial baseline drops. It drops a bit. You can see it. Here, we have a simplistic way of showing it, a simple way to show it. The more instant gratification you have, the more pleasure you have, your dopamine baseline will be lower, yeah? And so, your general state of being will be lower. You'll feel more empty. You'll not feel fulfilled. Dopamine is the thing that controls how you feel, from depression to determination and everything in between. It's extremely important. And also, what I've just talked about has a strong correlation with addiction. Addiction is the gradual decrease of things that bring you pleasure. The more instant gratification you have, let's give a practical example. If you smoke, yeah? Let's take a more powerful example. If you use cocaine, yeah? If I'm not mistaken, cocaine increases your baseline fivefold. So, and then you'd have a crash and your new baseline will drop. But if you use cocaine, you use it once, your new baseline is lower. Here, let me show you something. For example, cocaine, yeah? Something that brings you pleasure, instant gratification. Okay, so here is your initial baseline, yeah? Then you use cocaine, you have pleasure, you have instant gratification. And then this is how it looks like. You feel better for a short amount of time. You feel stimulated. Then you have a crash, then a new baseline. As you can see, it's lower than the initial baseline. And let's repeat the cycle. Let's have that again and again and again and again and again and see what happens, like a drug addict. See what has just happened here. In blue there is the initial baseline. Here's the initial baseline, here is the new baseline. So as you can clearly see, the new baseline is way lower than the initial baseline, yeah? So you feel way worse. You feel empty, you feel depressed, everything. And now, look, even when you're stimulated, yeah? When you're stimulated here, you're above the baseline. And now too, you're above the baseline. But about this baseline, the compromised one. Here, the new high, it's lower than your initial baseline. So even when you get high, even when you get a dopamine hit, the thing that you're addicted to, you feel worse than how you felt normally before you were addicted. That's how you become miserable. That's how you feel miserable. And when I said that addiction is the gradual decrease of things that bring you pleasure, it's not only all the other things that you're not addicted to, it's also about the thing that you're addicted to. That also that you'll also get bored of, and you'll feel miserable compared to where you were before, even when you do the thing that brings you pleasure. And now let's look more closely at this. Here, this is your initial baseline, yeah? You have pleasure, so there's the hit, there's the high, and then you have a little crash. Then your baseline returns to almost normal, not normal. Your new baseline, it's here, it's a bit lower, yeah? This is how it would look. If you like this, you will experience pleasure, instant gratification, and now it is lower, you feel more empty. But just a bit. But this is bit by bit, by bit by bit. Big changes come from small things. And now let's look the other way around, because dopamine is not only bad. It's not something bad. The fact that it controls your general state of being is not necessarily bad. Now look at this, yeah? This is your new baseline. Okay, here's another. This is another example. This is your new baseline, yeah? And you do not. A second, please. You don't have instant gratification. You work hard for something. You experience discomfort. You suffer voluntarily. If you suffer, if you experience hard things, then it will feel hard for the moment, of course. I mean, think about a cold shower, a homework that you don't want to do, a hard project, whatever it may be. And then, when you finish it, you experience a little high. Because, well, it's exactly the same, but in opposite. You experience a little high. You know what I'm talking about when you just finish something really hard and you're proud of and you're happy and you feel stimulated. Okay, and now this is your new baseline. Here, it's a little bit higher than the initial one. And now let's look over time. When you experience more suffering, discomfort for a short period of time, uh, and you level up in your life, yeah? Okay, so let's look at the new baselines. This is your initial baseline. This is your new baseline. I mean, it's fantastic. But is it worth it? Is it worth it to have all that discomfort for this? Well, is it discomfort? Let's look again. Next thing. Now, when you experience discomfort, like in the last example, but opposite, when you experience this discomfort now, you feel actually better than you felt normally at the start. Yeah? So it's actually way more, you actually feel way more better even when you are in discomfort, and you level up over time. Now let's look at this closer. So this is your initial baseline, the discomfort that you feel temporarily, the high, and the new baseline, a bit higher. Yeah? So I'll ask you, is it worth it? Well, is it worth it to feel good for your life? It is worth it to feel fulfilled. I think you can answer that question for yourself. Now, going back to the presentation. Here, we've talked about dopamine and what it means and whatever. Okay, but you've clicked on this video because you want to make your life better. Yahoo! Because you're interested in how to live a happier life, a better life, more fulfilled life. You aim upwards, because I think every single person aims upwards, especially if you clicked on this video. Aww. Well, how can you improve the quality of your life? In short, pleasure gets you a low dopamine baseline, aka emptiness, instant gratification to be more exact. Suffering gets you a high dopamine baseline, aka fulfillment. What does a boring life lead to? Well, you start enjoying the little things, and you are excited for things that you don't even consider now. I mean, you start being happy for how the sun shines. You start being happy because it's warm outside, and like not, hey, it's warm, hey. No, you're like really happy inside you. You're at peace with everything, and you feel good about yourself and everything else, even bad things. It's incredible how being fulfilled just changes your life. And living a boring life, what many might consider a boring life, is actually way more stimulating. because your dopamine receptor doesn't get as much stimulation, it doesn't get as much dopamine. It starts when it gets small portions of dopamine. Like for example, you look how the sun shines, yeah, you get a nice meal, and because it's not overstimulated the receptor, you start enjoying it, you start being happy, with your life. Now let me ask you, does nothing bring you pleasure anymore? I think you might be addicted, because addiction is a gradual decrease in things that bring you pleasure. So stop doing the thing that instantly gratifies you. Stop doing the thing that satisfies you for the moment. Don't be on YouTube, don't be on TikTok, stop using substances and anything that stimulates you. In brief, get bored. It's what many may call dopamine detox. For a short amount for a short period it will be hard. I'm not saying no. It is hard for a short period, but then it will become easy and you'll feel fulfilled and you'll start feeling happy. So I think you'd like to do that, because what's the alternative? I don't think you have an alternative. The alternative is feel happy now, have pleasure now, and then you feel empty. And then for the rest of your life, if you choose every single time pleasure now, you'll feel horrible, absolutely horrible. So I don't really think any one of us has a choice if they want to live a happy life. If you want to stop being addicted to something or start enjoying life again, now just do a dopamine detox. Get bored for a week, for example. A week is a very good example. Don't use your phone only when it's just business related or whatever, and it's extremely important. Just have to give a message. Don't be on YouTube, don't be on Instagram, don't be on nothing. Just get bored. Simply get bored. It's extremely important to get bored. And if you do that, life will start to show you colors again. It will feel like you live again. I really think it's really important. I really think it will, increase the quality of your life, truly speaking. Now, that's the end. Sadly or happily, I don't know. Thank you. And I'd like to do I'd like to advise you into something. Now, I've presented my presentation about dopamine, and most of my information were taken from this guy. I think you know who this is. This is Andrew Huberman, and he has a 2-hour long video on dopamine. I think it is important to look at it because it goes into depth in especially scientific matters about dopamine. And if you are interested, you should look. I really think that a deeper understanding of this subject would really help you and would increase the quality of your life. Thank you to you for watching this video, and thank you to Andrew and all the people that I took my information from. If you'd like to support me, you can like, you can subscribe, and you can comment. Thank you again, and see you next time.